Hello, everybody, and welcome back to one of my favorite episodes of the month, the Enterprise Dish. And this time we are hanging out with Rick. Rick is back in his office, which is might be an unusual place at this point. How's it going, Rick?
Hey, it's going great, and it is actually not unusual. We're recording at the end of July here, and believe it or not, Brad, I had zero Veeam travel through July, and
Wow.
this guy's loving it. I'm still going to ride my bicycle tonight, but no joke, Brad, I have logged over 700 miles or well over 1,000 kilometers on my bicycle just in July.
That's a lot of distance, but I mean, more specifically, that's just good
Yeah,
in general, right? That keeps you healthy, keep you moving. If your car
yeah.
ever breaks down, you can hop on the bike.
I'm actually driving more on my bike than I am in my car, but yeah, yeah, I'm doing it. I guess we have this little work challenge to log more miles and stuff, but I'm doing it, for health and all, and it's great. I'm loving it. I'm sleeping better. I have so much energy. I'm totally amped. So no, I love it. I'm hoping I can get like a good 40 miles yet tonight. So we'll see.
How long? Okay, so let's dive into that. How long would 40 miles, like in time, how long is 40 miles?
So it's funny. Last night I did 30.5 miles, and I was paranoid that I would not be home in time to relieve the babysitter.
Oh,
So I had this like adrenaline rush, and I couldn't believe the stats. I used this app called Strava, and it indicated I was 2.2 miles per hour faster than normal, which on a bicycle, that's a pretty big gain.
yeah.
And that's about a good, in this example, I want to say that was about an hour and 50 minutes of sustained straight through action, no break. And that was 30 miles. So 40 would be well over 2 hours for me. There's some people that can do that quicker, but
Sure.
not this guy.
Sure. No, I mean that's good stuff, man.
Love
That's
it, love it. Totally addicted. So I'll be addicted to something else next month. But yeah, that's what's going on right now.
gets you out of the house, keeps you moving.
Yeah,
That's what's important.
yeah.
So diving in here, I was gonna say Rick and week in the same sentence or same
Well, then
word.
throw Veeam in there too, and it'll
Yeah,
really mess it up.
it was a pretty big week for you guys, or I should say, past 10 days, give or take. Big on at least my radar here was you guys released Office 365, your second edition or 2.0 of your backup product. Can we just let's just poke around that bear for a little bit? Can you just kind of give us a high level of what that is?
Well, at the high level, this is one of our most strategic new products at Veeam. And not just for Veeam, but also for the industry, because this is an area where people may actually think that they don't need backup. And let me explain. So when we're talking about Office 365 data,
Mm-hmm.
up until last week, the Veeam conversation was just email, so that Veeam could protect that email that organizations have in Office 365. And if you're an organization doing Office 365 correctly, there's two other services that go along with it: SharePoint and OneDrive for Business. So SharePoint Online and OneDrive for Business. So those two services were also incorporated in the version 2. So we really have completed that strategy, so that yeah, we can back up the email data and that OneDrive and SharePoint data. So that's really, really important in the SaaS era, because I'll just tell you one thing, Brad. If you are an Office 365 organization, and then let's just say somebody leaves your company,
Mm-hmm.
and then you delete their O365 account, by default in 30 days, that data is gone from O365.
Ooh.
And in most organizations, the retention requirements are a little bit higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, there's a need for this backup. And then on top of that, at a higher level, this is company data that needs to have that type of control on
Sure.
what it is, where is it, etc. So this is really completing the story on our
Mm-hmm.
side, and that went available last week. And maybe we'll get to it in a second, but before I forget, but aside from the 2.0 that we incorporate those new services, we actually also did something a little bit tricky. And we put in what we're calling a community edition or a free edition
Oh.
of Veeam Backup for Microsoft Office 365 version 2. And so the logic here is, like, if you need to like convince your boss that, like, maybe you're an IT pro and you think this is a good idea, Get this product and just back up the CEO's mailbox and the execs, for example. And the moment that they come to you and say, oh, crap, I deleted that purchase order contract or something important, or I lost this matter out of my OneDrive. Even with the free edition, you could say, well, I'm glad you asked because I've been backing this up for you. Here's your restored copy. By the way, can I do this for the whole company, right? So the thought is you can protect even yourself, your IT team, your execs, try it forever. But we have a 10-user full capability edition available for free.
Yeah, and so that's 10. I'm sure that wasn't a number you guys just pulled out of the air. That would cover the C-suite pretty nicely. That should cover just about every company.
Well, basically, almost all products at Veeam, we've always had a free edition. And the logic here is we want to capture the hearts and minds of IT pros. And that's quite simply, that's built into our DNA. So all of that being said, we are committed to that kind of stuff. And this is just the latest milestone in that regard. So this is like a capability from us you're going to consistently see. It's not going to go away. The agent for Windows, Linux, the backup product. I'm probably forgetting something. Veeam One. We all of these have these free editions, and now in the SaaS era, we're implementing that as well. So aside from the value of protecting that O365 data, there's also a great community use case in regard to the free edition, protecting the C-suite or even just the naysayer. For example, the moment your naysayer says they don't need it, then restore their data when they do, that type of thing. So it's a real powerful capability that we were kind of holding that as like big news for last week, and so far that's been really well received.
Are there any limitations on that free iteration other than 10 users? Is there any other feature functionality, or is it? I know you guys pretty much typically offer like a full iteration. It's just limited on users. Is that the same case here? Do you know?
It is. The only thing I'm not 100% sure of, and I'm looking at my notes, but my notes aren't going to help me. The only thing I'm not 100% sure of is if the configuration API is available in the free edition. I don't quite know that. Okay. But I know that the user interface that you click and drag and do all that, that's going to be fully functional, no limits other than the 10.
And I would imagine if you're only working with 10 users, let's just say, and you may not need that API access just because it's only 10 people. It's not like you're backing up 1,000 and you need to dive through all that.
Right. And that API is really driven for more the service providers who get into the business of providing backup as a service of Office 365 data. Okay. So for this community edition, it's not really relevant anyways.
And where can we find that?
It all starts at veeam.com. No, seriously, everything's at veeam.com.
Yeah.
You can't miss it.
That is good stuff. The other thing I wanted to point out while you were talking about this too is when Microsoft talks about uptime, that's great and all, but I know that Microsoft services have gone down, and what they consider an outage is maybe not what you consider it an outage. It might be that your local data center is, you can't reach it or whatever, and there can be times when you can't access a Microsoft service. And I implore you to ask the auditors who are there for HIPAA compliance or all those good things to be like, we can't access our data right now. I can't pull that information for you. See how they respond to that.
Well, that control of the data is really central to our strategy with the product. And by no means are we making this product because we think that Office 365 is going to go down. That's not what we're thinking. Because honestly, it would, no matter what you're doing, Office 365 would be fixed before we could move that much data anyways, if you think about it. But I will tell you, if you needed a piece of information, not necessarily to go send an email, we can open it up in the backup state to get that information. Or, and this is kind of an interesting little trick that we have with this product, and we don't really promote it too much, but it actually is what I call fully hybrid. And what I mean by that is Veeam Backup from Microsoft Office 365 can back up Office 365 email, but it also can back up on-premises Exchange and restore to and from. So if you think about that, that's very interesting. And what I mean by that is some organizations take a long time to migrate to Office 365, and they kind of always have a little bit of Exchange still on premises, and you could potentially restore the backed up data of Office 365 and the service software as a service cloud. You could restore that on premises and have that made available to you basically instantly. So accessing that data will not be an issue with this, but if you're in an audit, you have to be able to prove that you have these types of information, or at least you have records of it, or at least prove that maybe, for example, people are not sending social security numbers through email. Those types of things. That is where this product can really help organizations, go through the audit as such.
Yep. And as somebody who used to do former IT audits like that, I can tell you that you definitely need to retain data more than 30 days for almost every single type of instance. So you got to remember that when you term a user.
Absolutely.
And do you know how this product is licensed, by the way?
Yes, it's per user. I did not look at my notes for that, and that's a little bit different, right? Our other products were always per like socket of a hypervisor, which doesn't apply in this case. So this particular, whoa, I dropped my pen. This particular product is licensed per user. I want to say it's in blocks of 5 or 10 users, but it scales very linearly with an organization.
Gotcha. Before we move on here, anything else top of mind about Office 365 backup from Veeam?
No, just check out that community edition if you're kind of on the fence. Is there a need for something like this? I'd love for everyone to see really how easy it is to use. But then, think about that data flow. And what I mean by that is, what are the requirements of this data, of the email data, of the OneDrive data? And if I couple that with the characteristics of the platform, like if you delete a user in 30 days, that user's data is gone. Does my organization's retention requirements match that? If so, okay. If not, then maybe I need to look at doing some of these other different things, and that's where we can help out.
There you go. And it's one of those things that you need to be thinking about proactively, because you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you need the data and you can't access it. So if you ever think you might need it, you got to start planning today for about how you're gonna make sure you're prepared.
Absolutely. Well put.
And what else you guys got going on? I know this is, even though it's the middle of the summer, what's going on with Nutanix on your side?
Yeah, so last week was, I think, the first time ever, but we had 2 product launches in a week. And the Veeam Backup for Microsoft Office 365 version 2 was one of them. And then the other one that we released was our new backup product for the Nutanix AHV hypervisor. So that was one that was very highly anticipated as well. But basically, it's a new platform. It's a new hypervisor that we support to do backups upon. So, we had a very busy week in terms of launches and Twitter and all that. So I'm glad you got me this week, Brad, because I might have been a little bit frazzled last week, because launches are always quite a press around here.
Yeah, that's...
no, seriously, I was like zombie. I would be like, I'm like my Twitter wall, like, have this giant TV up here on my wall mounted vertically. You can't even see anything go through, because it's like it looks like a stock feed. It's just crazy.
No, I can only imagine. I know what it's like on the other side of a product launch, let alone having 2 that close back to back. I can imagine there was some midnight oil that was burned through those offices. I
will say that our R&D team does a lot more around a launch than we do, and a lot more of that is before the launch day, right? So while we may have had a busy week, product management has had a busy couple of months, right, to get to that point. And you're absolutely right about the midnight oil. So, yeah, I mean, it's a team effort. Whatever it is, hardware brand, software brand, collateral launches, just getting stuff out there. It's a lot of work to do that. You think it's just, put it up on the website. It's actually not that easy anymore. So, but no, it was a busy week, and, we've got more stuff planned for the end of the year. So that's good stuff that we'll talk about surely in a future episode.
I was wondering maybe if you talk about it today, but I understand you like your job.
Yeah, I do. I don't want to lose it just yet.
Drats. Well, I can't say I didn't try. A couple other things that are kind of percolating through, and this will impact people in various different ways. If you're an on-premises user of Office 2019, things are about to get more expensive, specifically about 10% more expensive when you go to upgrade, if that's what you're going to be doing here this fall. And Windows 10, depending on the E-level licensing you're buying, those things are about to get more expensive. But as always, check with your representative, because they always do bundles and deals. But I suspect that everyone's going to start paying just a little bit more, because Microsoft's $8 billion in net income last quarter wasn't enough.
Well, I took a couple of notes on this topic. I read a couple of different perspectives. I mean, it's pretty
Hmm.
factual on what's going on. But, the one characteristic I'll share is that they haven't had a price increase on Office, I believe, in 8 years for that
Yeah.
on-prem installation. And, if you put yourself back to 2010, right, people weren't using the free OneDrive for the storage, and they weren't using some of the capabilities, especially if you're in a workplace
Yeah.
when you have like full-blown subscription. So the whole mindset was totally different a long time ago. So the short answer is actually I support the price increase. I know that nobody usually likes that, but if you think about it, it's been 8 years, and how are we using these products differently?
Hmm.
But probably the most compelling thing, Brad, is that if you look sideways,
Yeah.
right, to how companies deploy Microsoft technologies today, and they're doing a lot of Office 365 or Office Online, where you have these, the installations you can use on your personal computer that's issued by work. But even these accounts can kind of install some of the products on other systems. I think you have up to 5. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But the thought is, if you're an individual and you have a PC and you have a tablet and you commute or work from home, right, you can collaborate with your work experience that way. And so if you think about that, 8 years ago,
Hmm.
that wasn't even in the mix. So there's so many innovations that kind of come into play here that I actually completely support that. And even if anything, you're just OneDrive. I mean, even the free edition of
Yeah.
OneDrive is a new capability that can go hand in hand with the Office experience that I personally think adds incredible value. And the other side of it is, if you look at organizations that have changed their device purchase habits,
Hmm.
like I know that I have so many Surfaces. In fact, I'm trying to fix this one right here that drives my Twitter feed, but it's just not cooperating today. But I think I counted that I have a total of 6 Surfaces, or at least I have access to 6 Surfaces, both at home and here at work. And when you think about the device purchasing strategy, sometimes either a 1-year subscription or even a forever, I think the forever bit will change, but I think a lot of times they come with at least the free first year for
Yeah.
included with the device. If you look also at the purchasing of devices and in conjunction with that price increase, then I'm actually not so, I don't know, I'm not so upset about it either, because the device strategy, that's what I want to do. I don't want to. I have a completely seamless experience on this device or that device, even though it's
Hmm.
not working. And those 4 devices at home, it's completely transparent. So it's such a good usability experience that I totally think it's worth it.
Look at Rick, just defending price increases. You
Well,
feel-
I know.
No, I know, I
Yeah.
get it. You do make a valid argument about the amount of time has passed, the amount of features that are going on, and so
Yeah, but I mean, but think to how we used it in 2010.
yeah.
How we used these capabilities in 2010, and life was different then. I remember where I was with things, and I think I even used different licenses at home.
Hmm.
Whereas now when I do my work stuff, I don't have to use my personal license to do my work stuff. It's like that's my stuff. It's all my stuff, and it's very, very kind of seamless. But the other side of it is, you know, against the price increase, there are a lot
Yeah.
of people that haven't really changed what they do. In fact, I remember when I started, well, I had access to Microsoft Works. Okay, we're going back into some
Oh
time
wow.
here.
Yep.
My first word processing was Works, which was, commonly included with like Windows 3 and Windows 95 type systems at the time, which was when I was first into Windows. Okay, before that, it was even sketchier. But I remember when I went to college, I went to the bookstore, right? And they always had the good deals in the software there, right?
Yep.
And I bought Word 6.0. And Word 6.0, I remember this version very specifically for Windows, was a big transition from like Works for me, but it was also kind of that if I had to like put like hard cuts throughout the history of Microsoft Word, it would be in the middle of one of the sections of like stages of innovation that
Hmm.
product went. But where that was in 1994, 24 years ago, there are plenty of people that really don't use anything different than
Yeah.
what might have been the capabilities right there. So on the other side of it, I see that, but I look to kind of the more progressive and advanced use case, and I think it's worth it.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's completely fair. That is
And Excel 2.0, I think I was using. I can't remember. It was bad. My skills then were so bad, and I'd love to see some of those college reports that my formatting. Oh,
I bet you had some sweet pie charts in there, Rick.
Times Roman, fancy stuff.
Oh man! All right, Rick. As we wrap up the back of the book here, it's time for Rick's dish. It can be anything about you want. Your bike riding. Be curious, and people might want to know what kind of bike you have too.
Well, yeah, Biketron. That's the topic of the month for me. And Biketron is a specialized cross trail, and it is not the fanciest bike on the trail. In fact, I want to dish on the app called Strava, and this is a good app. I don't know if you guys have used it, but Strava is a really good, and it's very data driven. That's I think why I like it the most. Like, for example, it tells me right here that I have done 700.7 miles. This month I've done 54 hours and 27 minutes of physical activity. That's good for a guy like me.
Yeah.
Right. And, it's one of those things that I know how fast I'm going. I know how far I'm going. And like for different segments, like yesterday, I was in a hurry because I didn't want to have the babysitter be late. So I did so many segments at personal records and speed. And I love that app. And if you're running or biking or swimming, I don't know how you'd swim with your phone, but you can do it. This app will track it all, and I think it's an outstanding app. I've been using it for about 3 months, and it's good stuff if you want to map your ride and share it. There's a whole community on there, but the bad thing is that you see how many people are doing it faster than you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people with better bodies, better bikes, and half my weight that are just smoking me on these routes, but I'm doing everything I can.
Very cool. Definitely need to check that out. It's I can relate to that because similar stuff for golf, and I can see people who are playing the same courses as me and shooting remarkably lower. I know that feeling.
Exactly.
So, all right, Rick. Well, very much appreciate you taking time out of your busy day talking about what's new, what's going on, and we'll catch you next month, and we'll see how many miles you've ridden then. Have yourselves a good day, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.